low testosterone. It's a big problem.
And you might just want to kind of scratch your head and write it off to normal aging.
Yeah, a lot of what we see today is abnormal aging.
Abnormal, stressed, accelerated aging.
Hey everyone, Dr. Chris here, not your everyday ortho. Quick question, have you been feeling more tired than usual, struggling to build muscle or stay focused? Well, you're not alone. I recently teamed up with After School for a video on steroid use in young men, which I'll link in the description. And a lot of people in the comments brought up the supposed epidemic of low testosterone affecting men of all ages. At first, I thought it was just people trying to justify their steroid use. But after seeing so many comments, I started wondering, are they just talking out of their ass, or are they onto something? And if so, is there any evidence?
You know there's an epidemic of low testosterone in young males. It's because we're poisoning them.
Turns out, it's legit. Sort of. Testosterone levels have reportedly been dropping for years, and apparently it's not just because of aging. From lifestyle changes to environmental factors, there's a crap ton, pun intended, affecting the hormonal balance of men today. In this video, we're breaking down why this decline is happening and what you can do to fight back. Stick around, there's a lot to unpack here, and this info could make a big difference in your health and well-being.
It's no longer at the point where, as young men in their early 20s, cannot pay attention to some of these factors, because I think some of the natural forces that are working against us, those are more prevalent now in today's modern world. Only not paying attention to our daily habits is going to speed up that natural declining process.
Yeah, I'm talking to you, Jim Bros. I'm talking to you. So, testosterone. Why do we care? What is it? Well, although it's not the sole culprit, testosterone is primarily responsible for the many traits we typically classify as masculine, whether that's physically, like facial hair and a deeper voice, or even behaviorally, like drive and ambition. In fact, it's crucial for a lot of things in a man's body, both obvious and overlooked, which I'll let Dr. Sania Schweig, founder and president of the California Center for Functional Medicine, list off for you.
We think about sexual health, we think about strength of erection, sexual performance, we think about libido, drive for sexual performance, muscle mass, effects on mood, effects on irritability, cognition, effects on being able to think clearly, have your brain work optimally, cardiovascular health, our heart, our cholesterol, our blood pressure even, the ability for, our body to maintain adequate bone mass and bone density, maintain blood levels, anemia, etc.
But dun, 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 dun. Over the past 2 decades, research has shown a steady decline in testosterone levels among men, particularly in the United States. Between 1999 and 2016, levels went from roughly 605 nanograms per deciliter to 451 nanograms per deciliter.
And what we can see is a pretty clear and pretty linear decrease of testosterone in each age group across time.
Our testosterone levels in men have gone so low that a lot of men today in their 20s have the testosterone levels of those of a 60-year-old back 20 years ago.
To put it into perspective, testosterone at peak levels amounts to just 605 billionths of a gram per 3.4 fluid ounces of blood plasma. Tiny amounts, which shows just how powerful testosterone is. Even with a 25% drop, it still gets the job done, just not that well. And men don't want to rely on just the bare minimum to support bodily functions.
I'm so thirsty.
Oh my God, Brian. Do you see what I see?
A Dr. Pepper machine.
Yes. Oh, I can taste it now.
Damn it. It was a mirage.
Oh, an RC cola machine.
As Dr. Axe, a natural medicine specialist, points out, this is a serious problem.
Men with low testosterone levels had an 88% increase in a risk of death compared with those who had normal levels.
While individual habits do play a role, it's largely due to collective ones, that is, broader societal and generational changes that seem to be driving this decline.
The vast majority of the decrease in testosterone levels in people now versus former generations is caused by our current lifestyle.
Our lifestyles are shaped by a web of interconnected factors. For example, when one area goes awry, it can throw off others. Or 5 semi-stressed areas can combine to create one very stressed you, which then amplifies the stress on each of the individual areas. So Dr. Schweig likens the testosterone problem to a tangled ball of yarn, with factors like rising obesity, poor diet, lack of exercise, environmental toxins, and other societal changes all contributing to it.
Stress, we're thinking about sleep disruption, we're thinking about artificial light exposure, we're thinking about toxins, which all play into with each other, right? So it's all kind of this constant cross communication happening.
Let's take a look at some of the reasons people think testosterone levels might be dropping. Kicking things off with one of the biggest culprits, obesity. Did you know that having a BMI over 27 is strongly linked to lower testosterone levels? Yep. Carrying excess body fat, especially around the belly, can wreak havoc on your hormones.
However, we have good hard data showing that higher body fat levels in particular decrease testosterone levels.
To be honest, the stats are pretty alarming. Studies show that for every point increase in BMI, testosterone levels can drop by about 2%. Obese men are 2.5 times more likely to have low testosterone than their healthy weight counterparts. A 4-inch increase in waist size increases the odds of having low testosterone by 75%. And considering that obesity rates have tripled in the last few decades, it's no wonder testosterone levels are taking a nosedive.
Probably the best explanation, honestly, has to do with body weight.
Really?
Yeah, and it's not body weight, it's fat mass.
So why does excess fat lower testosterone? Well, fat tissue isn't just sitting there taking up space. It's actually active. Fat cells have higher levels of an enzyme called aromatase, which turns testosterone into estrogen through a process called aromatization. More fat equals more estrogen, which actually tells your brain, specifically the hypothalamus and the pituitary, to reduce testosterone production. Not exactly the trade-off we're looking for, right?
Two things are happening. One is you're siphoning off your testosterone, but estrogen also then increases the level of a protein called sex hormone binding globulin.
Right.
Which increases gradually over time, and that will bind up some of that testosterone, so it won't be available for your cells, right? So
free testosterone is the active form of testosterone that can affect the body, and SHBG is a protein that binds to testosterone, making it inactive. Estrogen can raise SHBG, which reduces free testosterone. But in obesity, there's a hormonal tug of war. Estrogen raises SHBG, but elevated insulin and inflammation lower it. Typically, the latter win out, leading to lower SHBG levels overall. Basically, even though lower SHBG should boost free testosterone, these other factors, especially the high insulin levels, really make it harder for the body to use that testosterone, leading to low total testosterone.
So perhaps rather than saying that it's type 2 diabetes that is associated with low testosterone, it would be best to say that an insulin-resistant state in a man is associated with low testosterone.
Obesity can cause blood sugar spikes, leading to insulin resistance. In fact, these metabolic issues, driven by lifestyle factors and even aging, can begin long before any significant weight gain occurs, setting the stage for it, which will then, in turn, worsen blood sugar regulation.
You know, the pancreas can't respond as well, it can't produce the insulin, but then the cells also become turning off that signal because the insulin levels have been historically high. There's a huge feedback mechanism that happens there.
So yeah, metabolic problems and obesity definitely influence one another, and they both influence testosterone, with approximately 40% of obese non-diabetic men and 50% of obese diabetic men having low levels.
And I would say that type 2 diabetes and or insulin resistance, aka metabolic dysfunction, also increases your risk of a low testosterone because those Leydig cells, your pituitary, all of your hormonal axes are not going to function properly.
And those Leydig cells are crucial because they're the ones that produce testosterone. Another vicious cycle happens when obesity lowers testosterone, which then decreases motivation to exercise, potentially leading to more weight gain and keeping the cycle going. But it's not a lost cause. Weight loss through diet, exercise, or bariatric surgery has been shown to increase testosterone levels significantly, potentially breaking this cycle.
Increased belly fat and low testosterone are signs our bodies need maintenance. Diet is the fuel, and exercise is the tool we use to do this maintenance.
So what's the takeaway when it comes to obesity? Maintaining a healthy weight through proper diet and exercise isn't just about looking good. It's about keeping your hormones in check too. Speaking of exercise, the lack of it is a huge factor too. If you're not getting at least 75 minutes of vigorous activity per week, your testosterone might be suffering. Physical activity basically sends signals to your body to produce more testosterone. But with our increasingly sedentary lifestyles, Thanks, Netflix. Many people just aren't getting enough movement. And stats show that's approximately 1/3 of us globally.
That on average, today's 19-year-olds are about as active as sedentary 60-year-olds. And that has major implications in terms of their health and our nation's losing battle with obesity.
So yeah, exercise is key for boosting testosterone, especially strength training and weightlifting.
Oh no, hear what me I said. Especially strength training and weightlifting.
Heavy resistance exercises that target large muscle groups trigger the biggest spikes. High intensity interval training, or HIIT, also helps, particularly for older men who weren't active before.
Increasing the amount and intensity of our workouts is going to put us in a calorie deficit. This is the other half of the equation for reducing belly fat and increasing our testosterone levels back up to where they belong.
They kind of get that new user effect, yo. While some studies show that aerobic exercise can increase testosterone too, it's usually less than with resistance training. Doesn't mean that you should ditch the cardio. It's still great for overall health. But if your goal is to maintain or boost your testosterone, strength training is the way to go.
It's going to increase your testosterone levels because it's going to force your body, A, to build more muscle mass, to improve its muscle density, to improve its strength around your joints, tendons, and ligaments.
Several factors affect exercise's immediate effect on testosterone. Intensity and duration matter. Higher intensity, longer workouts tend to raise testosterone more. Age, also important. Younger men experience bigger increases than do older men. And timing. Testosterone levels typically peak 15 minutes to an hour after exercise. And also frequency. You gotta move more often.
There's clearly a influence of hard work at the neural level and then at the muscular level for increasing testosterone.
Exercise-related testosterone spikes are usually temporary, but consistent physical activity over time has been linked to higher baseline testosterone levels in men. Regular exercise is key to maintaining healthy testosterone levels. Studies show that men who stay active can have testosterone levels up to 15% higher than those who don't. So if you're glued to a desk all day and crash on the couch afterward, it might be time for a routine shakeup. And for my gym junkies, remember that staying active throughout the day, not just during sporadic, intense workouts, helps keep blood sugar and insulin levels stable, which is better for your body long term. Again, it's about the balance.
Both from a cardiovascular standpoint, what type of regular movement are you doing? Are you getting out there on regular walks? Are you getting sun exposure on a daily basis? But also, are you putting your body under pressure, under resistance?
Throughout history, if you would go back 100 or 200 years ago, I mean, the amount of men that were doing a lot more activities outdoors that were more laborious things where they were using their muscles and requiring physical activity.
Plus, being active also helps reduce body fat, which means less aromatization, fewer conversions to estrogen, and more testosterone. Win! Now, let's switch gears. Certain health conditions can mess with your testosterone levels. Chronic issues like high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, cancer, and again, diabetes can lower testosterone. Why? These conditions cause inflammation and oxidative stress, disrupting hormone production.
For example, inflammation causes an increase in stress hormones, as well as inflammatory markers like cytokines and endotoxins, and so forth.
It's a vicious cycle. Lower testosterone can increase the risk of these diseases, and having these diseases can further lower testosterone. So make sure you stay on top of your health through regular checkups and a healthy lifestyle. On that note, there are other lifestyle habits that could lower your testosterone, some of which might surprise you. For example, while quitting smoking is a major health win, it can actually cause a slight dip in testosterone. Smoking actually temporarily boosts testosterone due to nicotine's effects on cotinine, which helps prevent testosterone breakdown. But don't get any ideas. This short-term boost comes with long-term risks. Smoking, especially heavily, actually lowers testosterone production over time and speeds up the natural age-related decline. And no, this danger is not avoided by vaping.
Other studies, however, have explored the effects of e-cigarettes and the vape liquid that goes into them. And what they found was whether that liquid contained nicotine or not, it contributed to oxidative stress and inflammatory markers within the testicles. What this amounted to was a reduction of testosterone by 50% if it had nicotine and 30% if it didn't.
Nice try, bro. Nice try. Other lifestyle factors that take a toll? Poor sleep habits, which are exacerbated by all that artificial light exposure we take in daily, especially around bedtime.
We're looking at this. The biggest drop that you see on this graph is between 2003 to 2004 over to 2011 and 2012, right? When did you get your first cell phone?
When we're not living with the natural rhythms of our surroundings, specifically with nature, it throws off our circadian rhythms. Our melatonin levels drop, cortisol goes too high, and also testosterone levels will drop.
If you're not getting quality sleep, your testosterone levels can drop significantly. Studies show that less than 5 hours of sleep a night can reduce testosterone by 10 to 15%. Testosterone is mainly produced during deep sleep, and poor sleep disrupts this process, lowering levels, especially in the afternoon and evening when they should naturally peak.
The vast majority of our testosterone is secreted between probably 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. So after we go to sleep.
Because we make these hormones when we sleep. So if you're not getting high quality deep sleep, your brain, pituitary in particular, isn't making the hormones that tell your testes, not your testes, my testes, to make more testosterone.
But there is a bi-directional relationship between testosterone and sleep. Lack of sleep lowers testosterone, and then low testosterone can make sleep worse by increasing cortisol, the stress hormone, leading to insomnia or other sleep issues. And older men should be especially concerned, as poor sleep can have a bigger impact on their already declining testosterone. And sleep disorders like obstructive sleep apnea only make things worse.
If you're not sleeping well every single night, that means you're not recovering, both mentally and physically.
Then there's alcohol. Having a drink now and then is fine, but too much can mess with your testosterone production. In the short term, small amounts of alcohol can temporarily boost testosterone by affecting liver metabolism and slowing hormone breakdown. Heavy drinking can lower testosterone by disrupting the hypothalamic pituitary gonadal axis, raising cortisol, the stress hormone, which suppresses testosterone synthesis and converting testosterone into estrogen.
Ooh, that's gonna be strong.
Over time, it can also damage Leydig cells in the testes, impair liver function, affecting hormone metabolism and clearance, and contribute to hormonal imbalances. Chronic alcohol use can also hurt fertility by messing with sperm production and the release of key hormones, LH, FSH, and GnRH, needed for testosterone production.
Hey guys, I'm gonna do a shot of this beer bong and James is gonna kick me in the nuts. Woo!
The takeaway: moderation is key.
Low to moderate consumption of alcohol is going to be better for you, of course, than moderately high to high alcohol consumption.
Now, let's talk about something you might not have considered. Environmental factors, some of which can affect us without even needing direct physical contact. Though the effects of radiation from technology like Wi-Fi signals and EMFs remain a controversial topic, likely because it's such a widespread issue, and frankly, most are reluctant to change their relationship with our devices, but it's worth mentioning.
We are completely bathed in Wi-Fi signal, in EMF signals, in a completely unprecedented way.
What's more widely acknowledged is the impact of endocrine disrupting chemicals, or EDCs. These chemicals are everywhere, from plastics and personal care products, paints and cleaning supplies, some foods like non-organic meat and dairy, cookware, and food packaging, everywhere. And they can interfere with hormone production, including disrupting testosterone levels. These chemicals mimic estrogen, throwing off the body's hormonal balance. Some of the worst offenders include phthalates, found in plastics, personal care products, amongst other things. These have been linked to significant drops in testosterone levels in men, women, and children. Other common EDCs are parabens and bisphenol P. For more on that, check out my video on that topic. I'll put a link in the description.
And this is an anti-androgen, and it blocks the normal effects of testosterone within the body.
This means it hijacks cellular receptor sites that should be available for androgens like testosterone, preventing your body from being able to absorb testosterone or the necessary components to produce it. Additionally, heavy metals like lead and mercury, found in industrial settings, contaminated water, and even some foods, air pollutants, pesticides, and herbicides. These can also reduce testosterone by interfering with hormone systems. While the long-term effects are still being studied, reducing exposure to these toxins may be wise.
Basically, they're saying there is cause for concern, but we don't have hard evidence that the average chemical exposure we get from living in our current society is enough to substantially lower our testosterone levels.
So we have all these things kind of attacking us, but we can play a role in this. We can make better choices.
To minimize risk, avoid products with BPA, phthalates, and parabens in them. Many household cleaners, canned foods, non-stick cookware, and vinyl products contain endocrine disruptors like PFAS and BFRs. Opt for natural cleaning products and be cautious of cosmetics and lotions that may contain these chemicals. Use glass or stainless steel containers instead of plastic, which can release harmful chemicals when heated. And please, wash your fruits and veggies. Wash them.
If you look at sperm counts and testosterone levels in males in different areas of the United States, they are significantly lower in areas where there's a lot of pesticide use, in rural areas where there's a lot of farming and pesticides.
And while if you are like me and enjoy your home nice and toasty, think again. Higher indoor temperatures due to modern heating systems may also impact testosterone, as the testicles function best at lower temperatures. So maybe turn down the thermostat a notch and consider boxers over briefs. Just saying.
Cold as balls.
Now, let's tackle food. Over the years, our diets have shifted dramatically. More processed foods and less nutrient-dense whole foods. Certain dietary changes, such as increased consumption of phytoestrogens found in soy products, have raised concerns about their potential role in lowering testosterone.
Too much soy leads to enlargement of breast tissue in men, water retention, female pattern fat deposition, and mood swings.
But that's just one ingredient. This shift is bigger than that. Men who follow a Western-style diet often have lower testosterone levels. It's fast food, fried food. A diet often high in refined carbs, added sugars like those in white bread, pastries, and sweetened drinks, low in vegetables, and loaded with unhealthy fats. One study found that men with the highest trans fat intake had 15% lower testosterone.
Trans fats. We talked in other videos, trans fats are not good for you. Particularly, they've actually been banned as additives to most foods, but they still can enter from different processing measures.
It might make you think twice about having that Big Mac. But this was not the only diet in the hot seat. A diet full of pro-inflammatory foods increased the risk of testosterone deficiency by 29.6%. Weirdly, low-fat diets can also lower testosterone a bit, and super high-protein, low-carb diets can drop it by 5.23 nanomoles per liter. Sometimes just cutting things out doesn't work. Diet should focus on nourishment, not just restriction, emphasizing whole foods, nutrient density, and balance.
Most diseases are triggered by something that happens in your gut, and it has everything to do with the food that you're eating.
Where our intestinal cells should be, have tight junctions and be nicely opposed to each other. Then our body gets to decide what comes in and what doesn't. Those cells will become more permeable and allow a variety of different substances to leak in now and gain exposure to the systemic circulation and the systemic immune system, with a huge feedback loop of inflammation.
Metabolic endotoxemia, as it's called, inhibits luteinizing hormone, LH release, from the brain and steroidogenic enzymes in Leydig cells in the testes, thus increasing oxidative stress, which both lower testosterone production. On the bright side, a balanced diet with healthy satiating fats, quality proteins, and key micronutrients like zinc and vitamin D is a great way to support healthy testosterone levels. Foods like onions, oysters, fatty fish, and olive oil specifically are linked to higher testosterone levels. And before I forget, stay hydrated to stay lively.
We are 70% water. Our body is made up of water. So if we're not replenishing that on a daily basis, then obviously the negative effects are going to show in our energy levels, in our focus, in our longevity, which is really a byproduct of low testosterone.
Another factor often overlooked is the impact of medications on testosterone levels. While meds can be lifesavers, they can also have unintended side effects. For example, long-acting opioids, morphine, oxycodone for pain, statins for cholesterol, SSRIs for depression, beta blockers for high blood pressure, spironolactone for heart failure, ketoconazole, an antifungal, and cimetidine for ulcers and GERD are all linked to lower testosterone levels.
Are you using your inhaler?
All the time. Go through one a week.
Corticosteroids in asthma inhalers can significantly lower testosterone, as can antihistamines for allergies, which may also increase estrogen levels.
You sure you're using it right?
Do I look like an idiot?
And chemotherapy drugs can damage the testes, reducing testosterone production.
Why don't you show me how your inhaler works?
So if you're concerned about your testosterone levels and you're taking any of these medications, it's a good idea to talk to your doctor about potential alternatives or other treatments.
And if you're taking a medication that lowers your testosterone, then you want to know about that.
Symptoms like low energy, reduced muscle mass, low libido, erectile dysfunction, fatigue, and mood swings could be signs of low testosterone. If you're worried, it's important to talk to your doctor and get tested. Testosterone is usually measured through blood tests, with the best time to test being in the morning, before 10 a.m., when levels are at their highest. It's recommended to do 2 or 3 tests to confirm low levels, as testosterone levels can fluctuate.
They ask you to do it in the morning without eating anything.
Ideally, tests should be done after a good night's sleep and while fasting.
Throughout the day, you are sending out bursts of testosterone, so you will have different levels throughout the day.
The main tests for assessing testosterone levels include total testosterone, or TT, which measures both free and protein-bound testosterone, calculated bioavailable testosterone, or CBAT, which looks at free and albumin-bound testosterone, and free testosterone, a less common test that measures only unbound active testosterone. The SHBG test is often done alongside testosterone levels to calculate bioavailable testosterone. In some cases, additional tests for follicle stimulating hormone, FSH, luteinizing hormone, LH, and prolactin may be used to pinpoint the cause of low testosterone or rule out pituitary issues. Remember, testosterone levels can fluctuate based on age, time of day, and overall health.
But if you're in the 200 range, I would definitely consider that to be low.
If you're considering using a home testing kit to check your testosterone, be aware that these kits are generally less accurate than clinical laboratory tests. Basically, clinical tests are pretty accurate, usually only off by about 20% from reference methods. But home tests can be way less reliable. One study found that they can be off anywhere from 26 to 40% for men. And on average, they were about 194% off.
But right below my result of 328, it says men with clinically significant symptoms and testosterone values repeatedly in the range of 2 to 300 may benefit from testosterone treatment.
Saliva tests are especially hit or miss, and even finger prick blood tests don't always match up to lab results. While home tests can give you a starting point, clinical testing is better for confirmation, especially if the results seem off.
Hey. Yeah. The little dealer in the corner.
Yeah.
Hey, dude. I walked out of the clinic and the guy with the trench coat was like, you look like you need male rejuvenation therapy.
And remember, diagnosing low T is tricky since everyone's baseline is different.
So you always have to be guiding by how does somebody feel. Number one most important thing. Symptoms, the patient, the person in front of us is the number one most important piece of information, and any lab data is secondary in any condition. Helpful, but secondary.
That said, now that we know decreasing levels are actually a thing, what, if anything, can we do about it? Well, this is a multifactorial problem that we need to address on both individual and societal levels. So what are these actionable steps?
I think more and more people with the availability of this kind of thing, in the knowledge of it, will go out, get a testosterone test. It comes back maybe a little bit lower than they want.
On an individual level, focusing on regular exercise, a nutrient-rich diet, proper sleep, and minimizing exposure to toxins can make a huge difference.
Immediately they'll probably want to jump on TRT without maybe having a good workout schedule, good eating habits, sleeping, you know, their drink, whatever it is.
Not only reducing exposure to environmental toxins, but in a sense, mental toxins as well, by managing stress through mindfulness techniques. Maybe even consider supplementation, like zinc for testosterone synthesis, antioxidants to combat oxidative stress, and other supplements to support mitochondrial health.
Things like R-lipoic acid, vitamin C, selenium, your B complexes, magnesium, manganese, copper, zinc, and for testosterone synthesis, then making the testosterone itself, things like zinc and magnesium, vitamin D, again, your B complexes come in there, vitamins A, C, E, so these are antioxidants, right?
Once you've taken care of yourself, society needs to step up too. We should focus on health education, better food regulations, stricter rules on endocrine disrupting chemicals, and supporting policies at schools and workplaces that promote healthier lifestyles. Think flexible exercise schedules, standing desks, and better food options. Urban planning that encourages physical activity like parks and bike lanes can help too. By acting on both personal and societal levels, we can start to reverse the decline in testosterone levels among men.
The testosterone really is just the symptom here. And it's a symptom of this, the fact, pretty indisputable fact, that we are living pretty far out of balance from our evolutionary history and what our bodies have known over tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years, right?
In rare cases, testosterone replacement therapy, or TRT, may be necessary, but only under the guidance of a qualified physician, not that guy you know from the gym. As a first step, it's always best to focus on natural solutions like lifestyle changes we just talked about.
Because we want to do a couple of things. One, we want to prime their body so that it's better able to then respond to and receive benefit from the treatments when we start them. And we also want to show them, hey, this is in your control.
But as Dr. Schweig mentions, what's happening to our bodies is not natural. So occasionally people do need a medical intervention to feel just normal. And if a patient does opt for pharmacotherapy besides regular TRT, other treatments might include selective estrogen receptor modulators, or SERMs, like clomiphene citrate, which helps raise testosterone by blocking estrogen's negative feedback on the hypothalamus. Aromatase inhibitors, or AIs, can also be used to boost testosterone. Another option is human chorionic gonadotropin, or HCG, the only FDA-approved non-testosterone treatment for low testosterone, though it requires injections and can be pricey.
Is going on TRT the same thing as taking anabolic steroids? Well, the answer is yes.
Pharmacological treatments for testosterone deficiency, especially TRT, can help with low sexual function, improving sexual desire, erectile function, and satisfaction. It can also correct anemia in middle-aged men and older men with hypogonadism and prevent it in those without it. TRT reduces body fat, may improve glycemic control in diabetic patients, and increases bone mineral density.
My body mass came back to where it was. My energy was better. Libido was a little better.
That said, it's not all smooth sailing. While TRT can improve quality of life for men with low T, the improvements in many areas, like sexual function, may only be minimal.
Low libido, wait a minute, hold the phone. Did you just say low libido?
Benefits in physical functioning, energy levels, mood, and cognition are often also minimal or inconsistent. Older men and those with obesity may experience less notable improvements, particularly in sexual function. Plus, the long-term safety and efficacy of TRT beyond 1 year are still unclear. So you could be playing with fire.
When you look at testosterone supplementation, one of the key things to keep in mind is whether or not you really need it.
While TRT is effective in boosting testosterone levels, it comes with documented risks, including increased risk of erythrocytosis, or excess red blood cells, potential cardiovascular risks, though evidence here is limited, worsening of sleep apnea, and reduced sperm counts or impaired spermatogenesis, with 10% of men not recovering after discontinuation. A big concern with TRT is that many people end up relying on it long term, as it can disrupt natural hormone production and create dependence on synthetic testosterone. So the decision to use TRT at all is a big one and is individualized, weighing the potential benefits against meets the risks for each person.
If you want to do TRT, it's something that you're sticking for. It's not like you do it for a little bit and you necessarily come off.
Lastly, let's touch on something really important: the connection between low testosterone and steroid use. With declining T levels, some men turn to illicit steroids to boost their levels. While they might work in the short term, they come with serious health risks and can also make natural testosterone production even worse in the long run.
Going completely off isn't an option for me. I cannot produce testosterone naturally.
Some side effects of anabolic steroids for low testosterone may be reversible, but the longer the use, the higher the dosage, the more severe and potentially permanent the effects. Yes, effects like temporary infertility or reduced sperm production, testicular atrophy, shrinkage of the testicles, altered sex drive, and squashed natural testosterone production are usually reversible, but that's not always the case. Not to mention, the timeline and extent of recovery can vary significantly between individuals.
The side effects to it can vary so greatly depending on the person. You just never know what you're going into. You know, you could do one cycle and then your natural testosterone could be dumped for the rest of your life, or you have to be on TRT forever.
Many other side effects of anabolic steroid use are not reversible and can lead to serious long-term health problems. We're talking liver damage and increased risk of liver cancer, cardiovascular issues including increased risk of heart attack and stroke, stunted growth in adolescence, male pattern baldness, and increased risk of prostate cancer. That said, steroids and TRT shouldn't be taken lightly. They should always be managed by a healthcare professional to avoid serious risks.
Under proper management and care by an expert physician, a man who needs testosterone can do wonderfully.
So, after all that, where does this leave us, and what are my own thoughts on the testosterone drought and my own test levels as a middle-aged man? Well, I certainly want to check my levels to see where I fall on the spectrum, and if my levels are in the normal range for my age demographic. I am not experiencing low energy, reduced muscle mass, fatigue, or mood changes, so I certainly don't feel like I have low testosterone. But maybe I have it, and I am just not aware of how good I should feel.
It makes sense that you might want to attribute your fatigue, depression, lack of sexual desire to low testosterone without actually really knowing, then reaching for a supplement whose side effects might be you getting jacked.
But regardless, even if I had low levels, I know that there is a crap ton of stuff that I can do to positively affect my levels before even considering TRT. And as a physician, I am well aware of the side effects and the risks associated with long-term TRT use. And there is just something that doesn't sit well with me, knowing that once TRT is started, it's likely a lifetime choice. Yeah, nope. Not for me, bro. Not for me.
We can do this, and why not, feel like you did when you're 18? That's not my philosophy, right? I want people to age gracefully and to age healthily and to respect the natural processes that we all have as part of the arc of being alive on this planet.
What are your thoughts on this topic? Are you part of the low T epidemic? Or have you successfully warded off this problem with a healthy diet, exercise, resistance training, adequate sleep, and minimizing exposure to environmental compounds and drugs that might lower your levels?
So you want to do all those things. You want to think preventively. You want to, potentially set yourself up for the optimal and longest life possible. It's worth doing the work now, and it's worth doing the work and digging in and figuring out what are those levers that you can pull on to make a difference.
And one last thing before we go. I want to touch on one of the most overlooked but most important elements of feeling like you have energy and vitality to conquer the world. Men thrive on having a purpose. Something worth working toward and overcoming obstacles for. Something worth fighting for. While a hyper-competitive society has its issues, the core idea of being a go-getter, a doer who takes action, is still key to traditional manhood, even if it's not always played out in the healthiest way.
What built this country? Is it people that slept in? Is it people that were wimping out? That says, I want to feel good, I want to be comfortable? No.
Which brings us to a bigger issue that's been a hot topic lately. The societal cultural dilemma around masculinity.
They worked their butts off. That's what made this country great.
While I don't necessarily agree with the idea that we're raising a generation of wimps, as Arnold Schwarzenegger puts it.
And so now let's continue this way. Don't start creating a generation of wimps and weak people and stuff like that.
The argument that the shift towards a more feminized world is causing testosterone levels to drop does raise intriguing scientific questions. The perspective is that behaviors traditionally considered masculine aren't being rewarded in the same way that they once were, and our bodies are responding to that shift.
Things what we associate with masculine behavior can result in increases in testosterone levels. Cultural and social cultural settings impact our testosterone levels. It's not all biology.
Whether or not we can measure this issue or its effects is still unclear, but I will say this. As society tries to balance both masculine and feminine traits in a healthy way, we might need to refine our idea of what masculine goals are in order to stay true to the essence of manhood in a changing world.
The reality is, though, is that we want men with high testosterone and we want masculine men. You know, masculinity can be positive, especially when it's connected to virtue, justice, courage, bravery, honor, respect, self-discipline.
Being a man isn't just about your body, but also your character.
Hey, be a man.
But the idea that our environment, like social factors, influences how our body expresses itself, kind of like epigenetics, can't be overlooked.
Male testosterone levels are mediated by the fertility of the women in their local ecology.
This likely stems from evolutionary biology, where higher testosterone in males may have developed to encourage mating behavior and help them compete with rivals, essentially for survival and reproduction. And with many women on birth control artificially suppressing their fertility, men's bodies might adjust accordingly. That said, it's a bigger societal issue where both men and women play a role. Our biology is connected, and how we live and interact shapes how it adapts over time. Men and women are two integral parts of survival of the species. We don't just need each other, we need each other to be healthy, happy, and in a good relationship with one another. But as we've explored in this video, this is just one of many factors involved. Testosterone levels are clearly responding to the shifts in the modern world, highlighting how deeply interconnected everything really is. Thanks for joining me as we contemplate the testosterone decline and what we can do about it. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more content on hormone health, body optimization, and steroid use. I highly suggest you watch my other video, From Boys to Men, the Steroid Epidemic, for more discussions on masculinity in the modern world. We're working towards a goal of 1 million subs, and we would love to have you with us when we get there. Don't forget to follow my gym, Human 2.0 Fitness, for free right here on YouTube, where we post content that helps you move better and prevent injury. Or its sister channel, Human at Home, where we show you how to be healthy in the space where you live. Otherwise, as always, that's been a word from Dr. Chris, not your everyday ortho, where we see one, do one, teach one.